Hello and welcome along to episode 13 of the Apprentice Angle. First and foremost, I'm very grateful for all the kind comments and responses to last week's episode, where I was joined by jockey's agent Ross Burkett. Ross is flying along at the moment with his trio of young jockeys. And the following day after recording, one of his top talents, Freddie Larson, goes on win to John Smith's Cuppable Pride of America for Amy Murphy at a huge price, which is great to see for Ross and Freddie, who've both been ticking along quite nicely. And on the whole, it was great to sort of shed some light on an area in racing which I feel doesn't get enough attention and coverage it probably should deserve. A lot of these jockey bookings you see are down to the agents, and they're pretty much the unsung heroes of racing. A lot of what happens to jockeys goes through them, and without agents, racing probably wouldn't happen effectively, and it'd be a lot more difficult for jockeys to sort of get around racing and get on horses anyway. So it was great to chat to Ross, and he's doing a fantastic job with not only Freddie but also Rose Dawes and George Bass too. But coming up in this week's episode, we're going to reflect upon all of the recent goings on in the apprentice world. There's lots to discuss and a fair bit to get through anyway. But reflecting upon this week, Billy Loughnane is 14 winners clear now at the top of the championship. He sits on 34 winners now. Although he's out for the next couple of weeks, he's on the sidelines due to a fractured thumb he picked up during the week. But I can't see that having much of an effect on his title aspirations. He's 14 clear, as I said, and it would have to take for me something rather dramatic from the chasing pack, from the likes of Benoit or Harry or Conor Planas to really mount a sustained serious challenge to try and dethrone Billy here at the moment. He's had a great season so far. Treble at Chepstow during the week, four winners in the build up to that prior to that as well on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday as well. And he's just been going along so nicely. He's on the crest of a wave at the moment. He has been really since he got going in November, and it's just built up and built up and built up. And he's accelerated through his claim quite quickly. And obviously, the next step for him will be how will he cope without the claim? As that's always the question we always associate with the young jockey. It's all good and well doing well when they've got their claim, but what will be the definition of their career is how they get on after they've ridden out their claim and when they're effectively professional riding on level weights and against the top jockeys as well. So that's when we'll find out how good these young talents are. But at the moment, Billy's doing fantastically well. And as I said before, he's in a clear lead now. And I think once he's back from his injury, he'll just kick off where he left off. And I think he'll be champion apprentice. It's as simple as that. He's been by far and away the most consistent apprentice all season so far. He's riding out of his skin. He's riding winners on horses he probably shouldn't win. He's winning on those. And he's just doing exceptionally well. He's a great lad for the sport as well, making that breakthrough last year in the news, the 10 o'clock BBC News, as we mentioned a couple of right at the start of the series anyway. But Billy's just a fantastic ambassador for racing. He's got a fantastic attitude, and it's what racing perhaps should promote, which I don't think it does enough. But we'll always keep on trying to push our young talent anyway. But as for the rest of the championship standings, the top four readers this: Billy's in front on 34 winners. Benoit de la Slate in second on 20 winners. Conor Planas in third on 17, or joint third, I should say, with Harry Davis, who are both on 17. Conor's been going along quite nicely as well. We saw him to good effect at Newmarket last week for the July meeting aboard Quinault, who's really built up a winning sequence now. That's six wins in a row for the Stuart Williams trained horse, who is, you would say, now on the verge of becoming a stakes horse with the dramatic improvement he's made through the handicap ranks now. The next step would arguably be Group Company. And he'd be a definite contender for me for Horse of the Year so far. I think him and David Loughnane Sparks Fly would definitely both be up there. They've both had good winning sequences over the course of the summer. And look, we've still got a couple of months of the season left to go, so a lot can change. But for me, there'd definitely be two from the more unfashionable yards who have definitely done well. And I mean that word unfashionable with all due respect, of course, to Stuart and Dave, who are both exceptional trainers in my opinion. But anyway, reflecting upon that meeting during the week at Chepstow on Wednesday, I do believe it was. No, sorry, Thursday it was. It was a clean sweep for apprentice jockeys. Billy rode three winners and also a very significant double for Laura Coughlin, who rode Penguin Island to victory in the first race, the apprentice handicap, and also a great win for Louis Trez for Deborah Faulkner as well. Deborah's been a great backer of Laura over last couple of years as well. Laura's had a nice couple of winners for Deborah this year as well. And whenever Deborah puts Laura up, Laura tends to repay that faith anyway. Laura, for me, in my opinion, Laura's always been a very underrated apprentice jockey. Exceptional value for her £5. Agent Paul Briley does a fantastic job for her in terms of finding these good rides for outside trainers, which is always what any apprentice jockey needs. Good outside rides to sort of build upon what they have with their attached yard as well. But Laura's strong on the finish. She's got good hands. The way she positions her horses in the race is always very clever. You rarely see her in the wrong position. and it was a good double for her. She was seen to good effect on both horses during the week at Chepstow. And I saw her ride a good double at Lingfield at the back end of June as well. She rode Ebar Gum for Ivan Furtado. It was his first start for Ivan Furtado. She bounced him out pretty handy, kept it nice and simple, and the horse won well. And she delivered a nice favourite for Henry Candy in the final race too. And it was two very good, well-judged rides, very similar to what we saw at Chepstow as well. And she's very much an apprentice on the upward curve. I'm quite surprised, really, she doesn't get more rides than what she does at the moment, because she'd do a job pretty well for any job, any yard, any trainer as well. So, but she had a good week and a good end to last month too. And we wish Laura well going forward for the rest of the campaign. Moving into the Go Racing and Yorkshire Future Stars series, it's always a series I enjoy tracking. There's plenty of good young talent making their way in this series, and each individual round's always pretty good. You get a good pool of talent in there. We was meant to have one today at Redcar, which was unfortunately abandoned due to the winter-like weather we've had over the last couple of days, really, in the UK here. We raced on near enough softish conditions at Newbury yesterday, which was prior to racing pretty quick. The rain got into the ground and made it softer as the card went on. Cartmel was off to tomorrow's card at Cartmel's off after racing on heavy ground yesterday. I thought the grounds team performed miracles to get that meeting on anyway yesterday. And also, we've had a couple of other meetings fall by the wayside due to the inclement weather. I think it should be dry for next week's King George, which promises to be one of the races of the year for me. If we can just hopefully have a good run of weather this week on the drier side anyway, fingers crossed, although the forecast is changing all the time. It doesn't look very great at the moment. But if it stays hopefully on the good side, weather-wise, we will probably end up with one of the biggest clashes we've had in recent years in the King George. You could have August Rodan, King of Steel, the Derby 1 and 2, Pile Driver in there last year's winner, the Hardwick winner from Royal Ascot too. Could have Huckham in there again as well, who's bounced back to form and beating Desert Crown in the Brigadier Gerard. So there's plenty of a wide range of a galaxy of stars who could all end up lining up in that King George. But that would be great next week. But sticking with the Go Racing Yorkshire Future Stars series, we've got joint leaders in this at the top of the leaderboards at the moment, both on 36 points each, are Ellie Mae Croup and Connor Planis. Ellie Mae's been going along quite quietly, but very well this summer as well. She's always built up a good strike rate with Ivan Furtado. Ivan puts on a lot of horses, and she always seems to repay that faith. And is actually, in my opinion, very good value in these apprentice races. She tends to pick up a nice, good ride. And more often than not, she always tends to be in and around the frame. Hence why she's joint top of the leaderboard with 36 points. She's going along very well at the moment. And to me, it looks to be a two-way fight for this title at the moment. I can't really see anyone else coming from the chasing pack. I mean, Christian House in third on 24 points, but I think it's going to take something dramatic to see him reel in the two joint leaders here. There's every chance we could get joint winners of the Go Racing and Yorkshire Future Star Series this summer. Sean Dillon Bowens in fourth. Sean, joint fourth, I should say, with Zach Wheatley. Sean's done exceptionally well mixing his rides over in Ireland with over in the UK as well. He's come over here a couple of weeks ago and was seen to very good effect on the nice horse of Ian Williams at Chester. And Zach Wheatley, again, has been another young rider I've been very impressed with over the last couple of weeks. Rides predominantly for Declan Carroll, but has been a good judge of pace and actually won a very nice earlier round at Beverley in this series as well. So he's been going along quite nicely too. But for me, it looks as though it'll be joint between Connor Planis and Ellie Mae Croup as to which way it goes. I'm not too sure at the moment. It could go either way. It's pretty much nip and tuck here, but it will be an interesting watch over the next couple of months when we get into those concluding rounds, when agents will be working that extra bit harder, trying to get their represented jockeys on the better horses with the bigger chance of winning them races. And it'll be interesting to see how they get on as well. We'll also reflect upon the recent goings on this week too. It was fantastic to see Sam Feilden back in the winners' enclosure. His first winner since returning from a broken arm injury, a ball Telly read at Haydock on Thursday in the opening Apprentice Handicap. A very snug performance from Telly Red, who won with plenty up his sleeve. And I'm really pleased for Sam in particular because it's been a real tough road back to race riding after what seemed like a pretty routine broken arm injury picked up at home at Carl Burke's Yard. It just got worse and worse in terms of the nerve damage, and what seemed to be, well, what looked to be a pretty simple month or so out ended up being 3 months out. And Sam missed a large chunk of the season prior to that, but he's bounced back now, and hopefully this winner can just get it back on the road to hopefully getting more rides again. For me, he's always been a very good, talented rider, Sam. He had a very good winter, winning the Hands and Hills All-Weather Series as well, culminating with a very nice rideable Buxted too at Lingfield for Ian Williams. And I thought that was a very nice ride from off the pace that day as well. So in my opinion, Sam's always had that talent to kick on and do well. But like any apprentice, they need that support. And Carl's given him a nice winner there, a nice welcome back winner as well. And you probably could say that Telluride owes Sam one because last summer at Beverley, Sam got injured, broke his collarbone in the fall in an earlier race on the card. He was meant to ride Telluride in the final race that day. Clifford Lee stepped in for Sam on Telluride in the final race, and Telluride won. So it was nice to see Sam get back to winning ways on a horse who probably owed him a winner anyway. But Sam's a good young talent coming through, underrated in my opinion, very underrated. And I hope this winner can just kick him on now and get him back into the fold now, and hopefully see him through, finish the season pretty strongly for the rest of the summer. And also, we'll wrap things up with Will Pyle, who was seen to very good effect, dead heating last night at Doncaster aboard Guidor in a very tight finish with a fast finishing Atrium for Charlie Fellows and Callum Shepherd with for High Clear Racing. Guido's last run, you could have put it upgraded that run really at York. He finished in behind two very good top end handicappers who were on that cusp of group class anyway. So that performance at York could have been upgraded. There was a strong market move for him prior to the off, and the money was probably well placed in the end because he just about clung off that dead heat, did Guido. But Will's had a fantastic season as well so far. Ever since coming back from that broken back during the winter, it was a long road back for Will too. But he's really kicked on this summer. Craig Liss has been a great support to Will. So has Nick Bradley too, and Katie Scott now as well. It's two successive rideable Guidor for Will, and he's only four now from riding out a £7 claim, which is great for him. And for me, he's probably one of the breakthrough stars in the north. I think he's a fantastic rider, very polished, very tidy, very strong in the finish too. And I expect to see a lot more of Will as we go into the latter months of this season. He's a very productive rider, and I think he's got a very bright future ahead of him. I still think he'd be an absolute snip for his £5 claim too once the seven goes, which it will anyway. And if he keeps ticking along quite nicely, then I expect him to have a good end to his season. And also quickly, I'll give a mention to Adam Tracy too, a young lad based with John Ryan, had two recent winners in the last week or so aboard Harry with Style and also Pistoletto. Harry with Style did heats at Yarmouth during the week, and Pistoletto was delivered very well last week at Kempton in the opening apprentice handicap there as well. I've been very impressed with Adam so far. I'm a big fan of his in-race judgment. He came from off the pace on two occasions last week aboard both these horses and got the fractions coming from off the pace spot on. Both rides were extremely well timed, very tidy in the finish, very strong as well, which is always what you look for in a good apprentice jockey. And I think Adam himself will be a good value for those less than 10 winner races, those Hands and Heels series races too. I think Adam will pick up a lot of good rides in those. He seems to be going along pretty nicely. Was over in Ireland prior to coming over here with Ross O'Sullivan, who's been a very good trainer over in Ireland before coming over to John Ryan's here. And Adam, I think we'll see a lot more of him as the season goes on now as well. Those two rideable Pistoletto and Harry with Style very much impressed me in terms of coming from off the pace, which is something not all apprentice jockeys can do. An apprentice can set the pace, set their own fractions, which is, in my opinion, not the hardest thing to do for a rider. People always say it's the hardest thing to do going long in front. I don't think it is because you're setting the fraction to suit your horse. So, in my opinion, it's the easiest thing to do. Whereas coming from off the pace, you could run into a lot of things, traffic problems. You've got to time your effort correctly. And Adam done both those on two occasions last week on board Pistoletto and Harry with Style. And it's very much a young £7 claimer to add to your notebooks going forward. So that was the end of episode 13 of the Apprentice Angle. All being well, I'll be back next week. It's just always a bit difficult to try and get into a consistent run of recording with these episodes because it's pretty busy at the moment, lots going on. So hopefully we can have a nice consistent run with these now until October, fingers crossed. And we can end the season in good form, just giving lots of good mentions to the absolute array of young talent we've got. It's fantastic to cover this. And I'm really pleased that so many people are getting involved on social media now. What started off as a small idea that I didn't think would ever take off is starting to get plenty of traction now, which is brilliant. I'm really pleased for it. And hopefully now we can end the season on a high. And who knows? If people want to see it for the jump season, we can do exactly the same for the conditionals. I'm probably going to do it anyway because I think that'll be a good championship to keep an eye on next season as well, or this season coming up anyway. But that was episode 13, guys. If you did enjoy it, hit the like button as well. Subscribe to the channel too if you're new. It'd be great to get more new subscribers. And I'll see you all hopefully next week.